All right, well, girlfriends, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Angela Jordan Perry with Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling here on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in. It's been a minute, I know you all, and I'm just glad to be back. And to set off this season 3, I have with me today Abby Johnson. Yay!
Yeah.
Out of New Jersey. So her given name is Chrysanthé, right? Chrysanthé.
Yes.
And so, but we're going to go by Abby. That's what she prefers. And so we just finished a very detailed interview together, very laid back and relaxed. Abby has a lot of wisdom to share and to give, and a lot of nuggets in just her 5 years of homeschool. Let me take off my glasses so you can see me. So just in her 5 years of homeschooling her 2 children who are ages 6 and 9, just a lot of nuggets. And it always warms my heart. I want to be, I'm the old school. I've been doing it for 20 some years. So now to see these new people coming up like, wow, I got that at year 15. You got it at year 5. Wow, or year 3. It's always exciting to see that this baton is being passed on, and, people are making it happen and making things click. The sooner it clicks, right, Abby, the sooner it clicks and
Yeah.
you understand how this schooling should look like for our Black and Brown children, that much more time you have to keep creating it in freedom, right? To
Yeah.
keep creating that
Yes.
freedom. So one of the things that Abby said in our interview, you have to go to the podcast, Girlfriends Chat with Angela Jordan Perry, to hear all the nuggets and insights and wisdom that this sister dropped. Go to the podcast on all your podcast stations to hear it. But one of the things that you mentioned, I don't even know if you actually said it, but in your bio, you said it, is this idea of conscious homeschooling. So I want to give you time to dive into that. Tell us, what exactly is conscious homeschooling? And because it means something different for each person. And I think when we chatted before the interview, I mentioned conscious homeschooling mean being purposeful and focused about the homeschooling. And she says, no, what I really mean is this. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I didn't know that's where she was coming from, but that's where she was coming from. So she broke it down very clearly. Explain, Abby, what is conscious homeschooling? Then tell us, what does that look like? And then explain why is that important to us as a people who are home educating our children.
Okay. Well, conscious homeschooling um, is not necessarily unintentional homeschooling. It's very much intentional,
Uh-huh.
but let's look at the root word of it, conscious. And to be conscious means to be woke or awake.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
that is the idea behind conscious homeschooling, is to be um, aware of what you are teaching your children, not just because someone told you this is what they are supposed to be learning, but you are actually peeling back the layers, trying to figure out the truth behind it, who is telling the story or
Mm,
your story, right? So that is what conscious homeschooling is. It is basically choosing to be aware and awake during this time of teaching at home.
okay. So what does that look like then? So if that's the case, give us some, a visual.
Um, I would say it requires, like, I guess, an investigative kind of mind, right? You want to know, um, or maybe it's not just an investigative type of mindset, but more so there needs to be curiosity. There needs to be um, this desire to know and to seek truth.
Is this on the part of the parent as the home
This is,
educator, or the children because you're presenting, or does it matter the age, or what do you think?
I think it is helpful for the parents to instill that in their children. And so we know that our children learn based on what we show them, not always what we say. So to
Mhm.
demonstrate that curiosity and seeking the truth in everything is what conscious homeschooling is, or conscious parenting is really.
Okay. Mhm.
And so when it applies to how we're teaching our children, specifically in the area of history, Black history, American history.
Mm-hmm.
It is so, I would say, crucial and
And world
pertinent to
history, all of it.
world history. It is all pertinent to our survival, right? So the children need to know. And so if we don't teach them how to, or show them the importance of knowing the truth and seeking the truth, then it will fall on us, and it will reflect ultimately what we learned, or how we failed to some
Yeah,
degree,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
they need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So being aware, being focused, being inquisitive, being a person of research. Um, and I would you say part of that too, the researching and being inquisitive is being in a place where you have scales. I guess that's what conscious is, pulling off the scale so that you can be in a position to see.
Yes.
Does that make
Yes.
sense? Like we've mentioned
Yes.
this before, like my grandmother, I just remember certain things that she would say. I call her Nene, but I just remember certain things that she would say. Now I would be like, no, 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 that's just not how it's happening. That's not how it is. No, they ain't meaning that for our
Mm-hmm.
good, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She saw it in a place of believing all things that were presented to us.
Right.
Now, what you're saying, be in a position where you question all things that's being presented to us.
Yeah, you should. I think if you're not in an environment where questioning is encouraged,
Hmm.
that's not really healthy. I don't think as humans we were made to not question things. I think we should question with respect, right?
With respect,
Respectfully
yeah, yeah,
ask questions. Um, because like I said earlier, we want our children to be lifelong learners. And in order for that to actually come together, they have to ask questions.
yeah.
I think it was James Baldwin who mentioned also in this recording of what his message is to educators or to teachers, um, is that we as Black families have to teach our own. Um, and I think he was speaking in a general sense because of how much there of institutionalized racism exists. Um, he mentioned that there is not one institution that is not a racist institution in America. And so when you can recognize that, even our HBCUs, I mentioned I'm
Yeah,
a graduate of an HBCU.
yeah.
Um, Recently, a lot of alumni have been coming together to peel back the layers, and we've been discovering some some hard truths about the founding of our university.
Hmm.
Um, with the integration of natives on the land, and with the former enslaved people. It is a hard truth,
Yeah.
but it is important to know so that it's not repeated again.
Right.
And I know we've heard that before, but it is true.
It's
And
true.
that is so important.
And what that really means, and I think I hear you saying, that comes down to us getting down and doing the elbow dirty work degree, getting down into that and doing that research and learning and inquiring and questioning and building community so that we can do some checks and balances with each other and see. It's
Yeah.
important so we won't repeat history.
Yeah. And we
Um,
see other cultures do it.
mhm.
For some reason, it is so hard not for some reason. We know the reason why it's so hard for our community to come together. Um, there's so much trauma. There's so much
Yeah, untrusts have
trust
been
issues.
trust
Yeah.
issues. Yeah, yeah.
And self-identity issues.
Mhm.
Um, so it's hard to sometimes sometimes want to put that extra effort into making it happen, because you have to then decide, do I want to deal with this with
Right.
like how much of this pounding do I have to do for our people to get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have Jewish families and communities, and they stick with their culture. They truly uphold their teachings, and they don't deviate.
Right.
And we're all over the
We're
place, and we know
fractured.
why.
We're so fractured.
Yes. Yes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even when it comes to understanding the Bible and knowing like, I don't know about that. King James wasn't all about the people, so I don't know.
Right, right.
You know,
On
so
so
there's
many levels, so many
so many.
levels, we are that type of people. But what would be a beautiful dream, and I don't know if this is possible, but what would be a beautiful dream is, if nothing else, just getting down to the educating of our children. And I'm right now listening to this book, The Souls of Black Folks. And they
Yes.
I'm on number 2 in a matter of days. Now I'm like, I'm gonna go through this all again. And I'll probably stop and go through it again, because it's just so much to get. And I just keep feeling like I'm missing, like, what, wait a minute, what did you just say? That's how I keep feeling like, what did you just say? And he, in that book, they talk a lot about this education and that type of thing. But it would be beautiful if nothing else, we would come and be able to be on the same footing, with the idea of freedom and liberty in educating our own children, and what
Yeah.
that looks like for us,
Yeah.
and for our children. Not what someone else has told us, not what is based on what's going to make, because you said this earlier in your interview, how our kids have to be set and structured to make it in America is not like how our counterparts will be. So we have to do right by
Yeah.
them. And I
Yeah.
really feel that we can, as we home educate our own children,
Yes. Yeah.
educating our own children, that's a huge start in which we
Mm-hmm.
can do so, because it won't just encompasses books and the stuff. It
Right.
encompasses character, and
Yes.
you as a quality of a person that you are. How do you survive differently being in the skin that you're in? It's so
Yes.
holistic.
Yes.
It's so
Absolutely.
holistic. It's
It
a
is.
lot more we got to consider and think about. And we can spend that time and dig deep into it if we home educate our children. That's
Yes.
my.
Yes. I think that's what James Baldwin was trying to say without saying it or spelling it out. He didn't say homeschool, but he was basically saying we have to be the ones educating our children, not based on what our counterparts are saying our children need. We know our children. We
Yeah.
know what they need. We can communicate with them better than anyone else can.
Yeah,
We know the
yeah.
street terms. We know code switching. We get it. We knew code switching before code switching was the name for it.
We ain't no name
So
for it, but yeah, we knew it.
yeah,
We were
we
doing
knew
it.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't teach that in a book. It is something you have to experience, which is why I mentioned the importance of us traveling to a cultured community back in Philly versus staying permanent in Jersey, where there is a lack of culture and
Yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah.
There's just some things they're not going to learn in a book that will only happen through experience and in
Yes,
our communities.
that's right.
So,
Absolutely right. Well
mhm.
said, well said, well said. Well, thank you, Abby, for diving deeper and explaining and sharing your thoughts on what conscious homeschooling is. If you all want to add more to the conversation, please comment below here and let's hear what you think conscious homeschooling is, and what your concerns or fears or areas that you feel like you need help with. Bring some conversation to the table here. But thank you, Abby. All the best with your projects that you have going on with Noire, and all of her details about that will be in the show notes here. But definitely check out her full interview that we did on the podcast, and just get to hear her heartbeat and her story and her journey. And I'm glad and honored to have you here. Someone who we have the same heartbeat.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
yeah.
So thanks, Abby. All the best, girlfriends, and we shall see you next time. Thanks,
All right.
Abby.
Thank you. Bye-bye.